Hello, how are you? With Camp NaNoWriMo coming up, and with so many projects going on in July, I thought one of the best things I could do, especially since other people have asked about it and it's something that's been on my mind, has been to talk about how to get back to writing your novel if you put it away for a while, if you have abandoned a creative project. Now, this could actually apply to more than just writing, it could apply to an art project, a music project, a DIY home project. It can apply to any kind of creative endeavor, but we're going to primarily focus on writing today because that was what was suggested. And because I need to get my focus back into writing for Camp NaNoWriMo, and I also need to get my focus back on the ball game of talking about writing, actually writing, and some of the projects I have going on. think I think I'm going to continue with the Would You Business novel for Camp NaNoWriMo in July. With so many other projects going on in July, I really want to finish this book. But there's this other part of me that really wants to work on the creative book that I had mentioned a while back. I think I was doing that for maybe a NaNoWriMo project. To be honest, I don't remember now. All I know is that there are several different projects that I could actually work on for Camp NaNoWriMo. Several of them that had been abandoned for a while. Now, the Witchy Business novel hasn't really been abandoned. I actually worked on it in April's camp. But how to get back to your writing project or your creative project? If you've been away from a project for quite a while, then when you go back to it, it's going to be unfamiliar. You're going to be like, what? I don't even know where to start. One of the things that I found to be really helpful, it's one of my favorite books about writing, is called Writing Down the Bones, Freeing the Writer Within by Natalie Goldberg. I'm actually going to be rereading this book between now and the beginning of July. I'm hoping that it will have adequate time to read it. The book that I just finished was Craft a Life You Love. So I'm headed in the right direction, but I want to reread this book. Like I said, July is going to be packed full of all kinds of creative goodness for me. Writing is one of those creative goodnesses. Now, so I need to figure out what I'm going to do. She starts this after the introduction. It's called Beginner's Mind, Pen and Paper. And she says, when I teach a beginning class, it is good. I have to come back to beginner's mind, the first way I thought and felt about writing. In a sense, that beginner's mind is what we must come back to every time we sit down and write. There is no security, no assurance that because we wrote something good 2 months ago, we will do it again. Actually, every time we begin, we wonder how we ever did it before. Each time is a new journey with no maps. And then she goes on to says that when she teaches a writing group, I have to tell a story all over again and remember that the students are hearing it for the first time. I must begin at the very beginning. First, consider the pen you write with. It should be a faster writing pen because your thoughts are always much faster than your hand. You don't want to slow up your hand even more with a slow pen. A ballpoint, a pencil, a felt tip for sure are slow. Go to a stationery store and see what feels good to you. Try out different kinds. Don't get too fancy and expensive. She says she usually gets a cheap Schaefer fountain pen for about $1.95. They're more than that now. It has replaceable cartridges. She says she's bought hundreds over the years. She's had every color. She says they often leak, but they are fast. The new roller pens that are out now are fast too, but there's a slight loss of control. You want to be able to feel the connection and texture of the pen on paper. Think too about your notebook. It is important. This is your equipment, like a hammer and nails to a carpenter. Feel fortunate for very little money you are in business. Sometimes people buy expensive hardcover journals. They are bulky and heavy, and because they are fancy, you're compelled to write something good. Instead, you should feel that you have permission to write the worst junk in the world and it would be okay. Give yourself a lot of space in which to explore writing. She goes on to give more detail about different things about that. But that's like the key part I really wanted to talk about is getting back to the beginner's state of mind. So for me, there are a few really good tips about how to get back into your writing. These are things that I have tried because there have been times when I have taken a hiatus from my writing altogether or from a certain project altogether. Not necessarily my writing, but from a certain project. So whether you have taken a hiatus from writing in general or whether you have taken a hiatus from a project, these should actually pretty much apply. Read what you already have. If you have an outline or you have chapters or if you have a whole novel, read what you have. The longer that you're away from writing, the harder it is to get back into it. But most of us writers are readers. At least according to Stephen King, if you want to write well, you need to read. So I think it's really important to get back into the mindset of where you were at with your novel. Sometimes that means reading what you've already written as far as chapters go. Sometimes that means rereading your notes, your character notes, your plot notes, anything that you have about setting. Go back to what you have, whether it's an outline or the work itself or all of the above, and read what you already have. Take notes when you're reading what you've written down. Take notes either on the margins, or you can do the margins actually in Word document. You can actually take notes in Scrivener, in a notebook. You can print out your novel. You can do anything, write them down in a notebook. Whatever you deem to work for you, that's what you do. So take notes about what you read. Start small. You could journal about the novel, take notes about the novel, journal about your characters. You could journal from your character's point of view. You could do a travel journal about the setting or the settings from your novel. Take pictures, print pictures. Find something on Pinterest. Create a board on Pinterest. That's where I'm heading next. Because if you want to really get into it, sit down, create a visual board. Whether it's a physical board, a literal visual board of things from your novel that make you go, ooh, this character, a picture of somebody that looks like your character, a picture of a setting, a house, a yard, a street, buildings, anything, hair. Maybe one of your characters has really curly hair, you don't know what they look like, or they have really straight hair, or they have really white hair, or they have green with yellow polka dots in their hair. It doesn't matter to me what kind of character I have. I sometimes don't know exactly like what the character looks like exactly. I just have a general idea. Like there's this one character in my novel who has jet black kind of spiky hair and these weirdly blue-gray eyes. These weird blue-gray eyes, like almost the color of black ice on the road, like that gray, yeah, but it has like a little bit of a blue. So when I think of those eyes, I think of the Antarctic. I think of Alaska. I think of cold, you know. Um, Recreate the outline. If you have an outline and you don't like it or you need to revamp it, recreate an outline. If you don't have an outline and you want an outline, create an outline. If you're not an outliner, then just jot down some notes. Just jot down some. And the last thing I'd say is to spend some time with with those notes, with that visual board, with the actual information you've already got, whether it's, like I said, an outline or chapters or a whole novel. Spend some time with that, some real time. Sit down and look at what you already have, get into that zone, and then start writing. Start writing. Once you've spent some real time with that novel, start writing. Now, maybe you know that you need to revamp some of your characters. Maybe those characters are not going to work. Or maybe you know that plot point you had in the beginning, not going to work. Not going to work. Maybe the whole first chapter, not going to work. I know I've had that happen to me. I go through and I make notes. And then I start. And sometimes it's editing what I already have. Sometimes it's copying, pasting what I already have and putting it in a whole new Scrivener project so that I can figure out where to go so I don't lose what I did have, just in case I'm in the mindset of I need to redo everything. but I don't really need to redo everything. So that way I haven't lost anything, because don't do like I have done in the past and go, oh, all of this is a bunch of crap, and then go deleting things. Because once you've deleted them and it's been a little while, then have a hard time finding them again. You can't always get them back, unless you're like a computer genius, and I'm not. So just, yeah, heed my warning. Don't throw anything away unless you're absolutely positive, and then, keep at least one copy of it, just in case. I don't know. Other people might tell you that different, but I'm one of those people that if the inner critic, if the self-doubt is in rare form, then I'll think everything I've done is crap. Whereas I'm not being very reasonable, I'm not being very logical, and I have to be careful not to go deleting things or throwing away things when I'm in that mindset. So I have to wait until I'm not feeling that, then I can logically look at what I have and go, okay, well, yeah, some of those sentences, that whole first line needs to go. The whole first line, it's atrocious. But those paragraphs, those are pretty good paragraphs. Maybe I just need to kind of touch them up a little. And that's my big thing on the writing portion. When you've been away from any kind of creative project, the longer you're away from it, the harder it is to get back into it. Sometimes you just have to do it. I have taken a long hiatus from art. I've taken a long hiatus from journaling, from DIY projects, from being creative in general. And the big thing for me is getting back into being creative is sometimes more about just sitting down and putting my head in it. Not, well, figuratively. Getting back into the mindset of where I was at, and then letting go of any kind of preconceived notions, and just kind of letting it be the beginning all over again. As Natalie Goldberg said, that beginner's mind is what we must come back to every time we sit down and write. There's no security, no assurance that because we wrote something good 2 months ago, we will do it again. Every time we begin, we wonder how we ever did it before. Each time is a new journey with no maps. So think about it as a whole new project. And sometimes that will work. That's a lot of times what actually works best for me, is if I think about it as a whole new thing. So maybe I have a couple of different versions of the witchy business, which I do, but in the end, because I'm following where I'm being led now, I've revamped so that eventually I'll get to a point where I can go through and kind of reorganize everything that I have on that project, put it all together. This may end up being a 10-year work in progress, but as long as I'm working on it, and I'm enjoying the work, that's what matters. And I love the novel. I love my ideas about the novel. I love some of the things I've done with it. And the more that I get back to it, the more I find that it's something that I am enthusiastic about, and that I really want to finish. So that's my take on it. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and make a comment. Let me know how you get back into writing or art or journaling or any kind of creative project when you've been away from it for a while, and let's kind of talk about it. If you haven't already, I have a Facebook group. Link is down below. If you haven't already, please join. All the links to where you can find me are down below. Instagram, Twitter, Patreon, Facebook group, all of that good stuff. If you can, please check it all out. And I'll see you again soon. Thanks, y'all. Bye.